So we were all pissed up, and there's hallways and stuff. And when in the morning we come out to the hallway, and it was absolutely wrecked. The paintings on the wall and the ceiling. Because look, I have this in my flat. This like old Tottenham ball.
Fuck.
And but look at the marks on it. Because we were playing like a five-a-side in the hall, all pissed up, and we were like smashing it against the walls and like going properly into 50-50s. Yeah. Rooney! Like proper like going for it. And it's got all these marks on it. I've ruined the ball and I've ruined the walls. I'm really scared they're going to call us out on it because it is fucked. Like the hallway.
What,
is so
like not
bad.
get your deposit back?
I don't know, yeah, the painting's gone on like some of the wall. It's so bad.
Oh, fuck.
But at the time, we were like having the best time of our lives. It's just like now we're never going to financially recover from this.
It'll be fine. It'll
be right. It's just a bit of a paint job. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But a great weekend.
Yes.
We my birthday party just before we bent Aston Villa over.
Yeah.
Smashed them 4-0.
Oh mate.
You were at the game.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me do the introduction first. Welcome to Daring and Doing. I'm Will Hester, and I'm with Ben Bowman. How are you doing, mate?
Mate, I'm very good. I've just got one question for you before we start.
Yeah.
Who put the ball in the Villa net? Who put the ball in the Villa net, mate? Because I can tell you. Half the fucking team did. Half the fucking team put the ball in the Villa net. Mate, do you know how many Arsenal fans got pissed off with Spurs singing that yesterday? It was just like, because they beat West Ham 6-0 and they beat Sheffield United. Oh, well done. 6-0.
Yeah.
They were singing it to them and it was like, we won 4-0 and we sung it as a bit of a piss take thing. And they were like, actually, we started singing this a few weeks ago, acting like they've fucking invented it. Oh, they are just unbearable. Let's stop talking about Arsenal. Mate, it was fucking quality.
You sat in front of Vicario's mum.
Yeah.
What was she like? Was she getting involved?
Massively. It was quality. So did you see the thing on Twitter about his mum like last week?
Mate, she's fucking class.
I know.
She's so good. Like she'll get involved. She's like smashing down pints, like getting involved with all the fans.
So she was in the number 8, I think it was, like a few months ago, one of the pubs at Spurs. Don't go in there, by the way, it's really overpriced. She was in there like having a pint with like loads of Spurs fans, like saying that she's Vicario's mum or whatever, and loads of fans didn't believe her. Like just this crazy like Italian woman. And then last couple of weeks ago, it was the London Football Awards where Ange won like Manager of the Year and then Vicario won Goalkeeper of the Year. He posted a picture on Instagram like with his mum and dad, and everyone was like, "Oh fuck, like it's her." He weren't lying. And then we got in the seat, we wouldn't usually do this, but we got into the seat like half an hour before kickoff. The bars were just rammed. It was just not worth it. So sitting in the seat, it was just watching the warm up, just chatting with my mate and stuff. And then I turned around and I was like, "Fuck, it's Vicario's mum and dad." And the dad, some people might have seen it on the coverage, like because I was watching it back earlier. I was like, "Oh, it's me." And then behind me, I was like, "Oh, it's Vicario's mum." Vicario's dad has got a scarf on, like a blue and white. Like I've got mine. No, like look like like classic blue and white Spurs scarf. That, but with Vicario's face on it.
Really?
Yeah, it was quality. And I was like, well, that must be his dad. That must be his dad.
Yeah.
And then on the row in front of us, our tickets for some reason must have been like the friends and family section because the row in front was Brennan Johnson's entire family.
Oh, serious?
Yeah.
Well, so his dad's is an ex-player, isn't he? Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure his dad must be a Spurs fan because he, I don't know where he's from. I don't know whether he's a Londoner or not, but like he, I think it was Forest Away. They spotted him in the crowd on Sky Sports and like zoomed in.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he was wearing the flat cap with the Tottenham pin badge in it. So I know, and we were saying this yesterday, like, even if you, like, no matter who your son played for, like, you probably wouldn't do that. Like,
no, you just turn up.
There's a difference between having, like, a scarf or, like, a shirt or whatever. But putting, like, a Tottenham Cockerel pin badge in your flat cap, I was like, that's got to be a Spurs fan.
Yeah.
And obviously I recognised him through that. Then there was a woman next to him. I was like, oh, it must be his mum. I'm not joking. If you go on Brennan Johnson's Instagram, this sounds really stalky, but you can find it. His sister was in the row as well. His sister is the spit of him. And it was like, well, that must be his literally entire family. Yeah, literally, I'm not joking. They look like, he's got another sister as well, I've worked out. And like, they literally look like twins. It's mad.
Serious.
But they were quality. Like, they were loving it, getting involved. Vicario's family were great. Like, it was really good. I've never been to Villa Park before. Yeah, literally fully coys. I've never been to Villa Park before. And they got fucking spanked.
Yeah,
they got taught a big fat lesson.
It, mate. Absolutely humbled.
Yeah,
they couldn't live up to the occasion.
No, they
Do
couldn't.
you think?
Biggest game of the decade, apparently, according to John
Yeah.
McGinn.
How'd that turn out for him?
Yeah, literally.
Do you reckon that was our best performance of the season?
Yeah, I think so. I
Yeah.
think so. There's been ones that have been up there, like in the context of certain games. Like Arsenal away always sticks out because I thought we just did really, really well, held our own. City away for the sort of fight we showed, especially with the players missing. Newcastle at home was probably the other one other than this. We just like with the way we took them apart at home as well. Like Sunday 4:30, it just felt like an occasion. And after that was off the back of like 3 defeats in a row. I think that Newcastle game. So to go and do that to them, and we took them apart. But yesterday was just another level. Like first half was pretty cagey, but second half we just wow. Like it was. Villa fans. I'd like to say that I got so much stick from Villa fans on TikTok on Friday because I did a combined 11, and I never do them usually because I like to stay away from that kind of stuff. But I was like, you know what? This is actually quite an interesting matchup. You know how stick I got for putting Sarr in the team. And I think I had like 7 Spurs players and 4 Villa. They think they're so much better than us.
Yeah.
They
You were
think
generous.
I know.
You put Conser in the back, at the back.
Yeah, and it was only like I would have put Romero, but I was it was like, well, they've been very defensively good. And I had all these Villa fans saying, how can you not have both centre backs when you've conceded more goals than us? Check the goal difference table now, lads. Check the goal difference table.
And so check our season. Like, exactly. Have you not been paying any attention to who we've had?
Exactly. Yeah, they've conceded more goals than us now, so didn't turn out all right. Didn't turn out great that, but no, it was. I think it was our best performance of the season. I tweeted it after the game, like it was our most mature. I think because it feels like that game could have easily gone to certain. Obviously, we made a bit of a joke about the Matty Cash situation. By the way, Matty Cash got pelters throughout. I don't know if you could hear it on TV.
Yeah, I could. Yeah,
every time he got the ball. He just, and I don't know whether he expected to get that much stick, and I think it affected him because he was in the first half, like he was slipping all over the place, like he couldn't maintain his composure. He did look rattled.
It looked like it got to his head. Like Johnson had him on fucking strings. He did. Absolute strings. Cash couldn't cope with it.
No, he couldn't. And what was I saying? It was because it was like we could have had players that like lost their heads or not lost their heads, but not showed the composure in certain moments, but. The performance was actually so much like when we battered them a few years ago under Conte. It was just like, and it was almost like we were playing that same Villa team who were like mid-table, looked like they were maybe going somewhere under. I think Gerrard was the manager at the time.
I think so. Yeah.
Like they looked like Gerrard wasn't bad for like the first sort of 6 months, and they looked like they were going somewhere then. But that day we sort of just brushed them aside and kept them at arm's length. Although they I don't know, I remember that game, I don't know how we were 1-0 up in the first half. They battered us. But then in the second half, we just spanked them.
Yeah.
And yesterday felt a lot like that. It didn't feel like we were going away to a team that was above us in the league competing for Champions League. And that kind of gives me the confidence now that with the running that we've got, Newcastle away is going to be a big game as well. Like obviously, and we've spoken a lot about the sort of the harder teams in the running, obviously Arsenal, Liverpool and City in terms of the title race. But it gives you that confidence. But it was just dismissive, brutal, suffocating, all those kind of words. They couldn't hack it, Villa. We were just brilliant. Best performance of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I was so obviously you're so pumped up for this game, and I was thinking we're going to see because the occasion could have easily got to Spurs. It got to Villa. You could see that they weren't ready for this. Like the occasion, I was thinking that we could be easily rattled. Like the game against Chelsea, like came straight to mind. Like a big game, like the hostile atmosphere, and then we lose our heads quite early on. But we were so composed. I thought the first half, I was getting so frustrated because I was just like on edge the whole like first half until we scored, and then I was like, oh fucking hell, like we're on top here. But my girlfriend was sat next to me. She was getting so annoyed at me. I was screaming at the telly because I couldn't understand why we weren't shooting. Like we looked quite, And my girlfriend was like, "Fucking shut up! Like, what are you doing? Why are you screaming at your laptop?" And I wasn't understanding that, but because we looked very, very blunt, like we were so composed on the ball, and we were just. But I think we were just being patient. We were just biding our time. We were so like we had full control, and we were talking about in the preview. We were talking about how are we gonna not let this occasion get to us? How are we gonna get past their home advantage? And we did it superbly, and we couldn't have done it even like any better because we kept our heads, we kept the ball. and we just kept playing through them. And then we were almost like teasing them, like, "Are we going to shoot? No,
Yeah.
we're not. We're going to play it back." And then I feel like they were like, "Fucking hell!" Like it was, yeah, like you say, it was such a mature performance, and from a young team as well. It was so good to see. But yeah, I thought the first half we were seeing a lot of decoy runs from Maddison and Sarr. I thought that opened up a lot of. I think that was testing the back line, but that opened up a lot of space for like Bissouma, the centre backs. We had a bit more time on the ball. I think Villa were very, very concerned about whether we were going to play it over the top, which we rarely did. We were very, very intricate with our passing. We had complete possession, complete control, and it was a really, really good performance. I was so pleased. It was such a good sign that we're going in the right direction. That game.
Yeah, I agree. Like, Emery, the fact that they very rarely play a back five, Villa, and the fact that he went to a back five. Obviously, we talked a lot about in the preview about that they would be worried about our threat in behind, but we would be with them as well. Two teams playing high lines from what we saw at the game at White Hart Lane earlier on in the season. They're going to want to go at each other, but it's almost like Villa was scared of that, and they went to the back five, tried to soak up as much pressure as possible, and all they had was that one release ball to Watkins or Bailey over the top.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't really what we've seen from Villa. And when you've got Van der Ven, who is just like, we've labelled him a cheat code at the back to sort of mop up every single time, like that tackle on Watkins
so
was
good.
a joke. Like, you're not going to get past him. Like, he's just so composed in his own penalty area, running towards his own goal. It's just ridiculous. And it was almost like that was Villa's only out ball, but it was completely counteracted by the way how well we set up defensively. Yeah. That offside trap was played perfectly. Obviously, Watkins had that golden opportunity where he squared it to Bailey, where he shouldn't have squared it. He should have gone on a shot. He was offside. Porro played that perfect high line, caught him offside, just like Villa were doing to us in the reverse fixture. But they sat so deep, camped in their own area, which meant players like Maddison couldn't affect the game as much in terms of what they could do on the ball. But like you said, there was a lot of decoy runs, a lot of movement. Off the ball, I thought Porro was picking up so much space in their sort of midfield. Bear in mind, they went to a 3 in midfield. Like, they didn't track him really well at all. He was picking up these really nice pockets in midfield, sort of pulling them all over the place. But how deep they were, we just couldn't find that final pass.
Yeah,
and it was only going to take it to open up once, and I think we would have capitalised. And that's exactly what we did in the second half when the game got a little bit more stretched. And I don't really know why that happened. I don't know why Villa sort of relented sort of what they were doing in the first half, because it was frustrating us. And like you said, it was frustrating the fans as well. There's been that sort of common theme with Spurs this season where it's just like, someone just hit it, shoot on the edge of the box. Yeah. Because we've got the players to do it. Exactly. But it is hard to defend against those low blocks, especially at 5 at the back. And it wasn't as if Matty Cash and Digne were bombing on either. It wasn't like they were playing traditional wing backs. They were very much tucking in and sort of congesting that space and making it difficult for Tottenham. And they did that very well. But I actually thought they were pretty blunt on the attack as well. They had a couple of good chances, like I mentioned in the first half. But again, like we caught them offside. It wouldn't have counted. It's not a chance.
Yeah.
It was testament to how well we sort of defended that situation. I thought we were definitely the better team in the first half, but it was just about making sure we got that breakthrough. Like you said as well, we obviously talked a lot in the build-up to the game about Villa being scared of us sort of playing the ball over the top, and we thought that battle was going to be won in midfield, and it sort of more transpired a bit like that in the second half, but not really the first. But it's almost like they forgot how good we are at building out from the back and the possession side of things. We are, I saw a Lily White Lab tweet earlier, a clip of one of the build-up patterns that we played out from the back, them trying to press us. We just carved through them. Not many teams in the Premier League or in Europe can build up like the way we do. We've got such composure on the ball, from the centre-backs to the centre midfielders, and we're away, and you've got the quality. There was that one moment, and this was the clip they were referencing, was Vicario, Watkins presses him, that pass splitting the lines through to Bissouma, quick one-touch pass around the corner to Porro into Maddison. Maddison then plays that ball to Son, and he's in. And if it's a better touch, he's through on goal. It's just we've got that. We've got so many kind of strings to our bow in terms of our attack. We can be that direct, counter-attacking, pacey, go, go, go sort of team, but we can also be patient. And I almost don't think Villa sort of factored that in, really. And I think our patience, like you said, that we showed in the first half, although it was frustrating at points, paid off in dividends massively. 4 goals, bang. Like, it was just ruthless in the second half.
Yeah, absolutely ruthless, And also another thing in the first half and the second, but I think we shocked them. like you said, we suffocated them with the press.
Yeah.
The pressing was so intense. We were just suffocating them, man to man, suffocating. Bissouma was stepping up further forward, suffocating. As soon as they got the ball in the number 6 role, Bissouma would be on him. Romero with Watkins. Watkins couldn't hold the ball up. Romero would be fucking on him and just and wouldn't let him turn. So it was such a good managed game. I thought like we stopped them perfectly. Basically, we stopped them from playing their game. And they never got momentum. Villa. They never ever got momentum. They never got that the crowd really going. I don't think. How was the atmosphere? You were there.
It's very flat, actually.
Yeah,
from Villa.
I
and I was surprised because, obviously John McGinn, biggest game of the decade and all that. Like it was almost like there was a little bit of I wouldn't say a hangover because they drew at Ajax, which is a decent result. They've got the upper hand going into Thursday's game. So it just felt a little bit like one of those typical all round from Villa, really, from the fans to the players. Like it felt like that Sunday game after a Thursday in the Europa League a little bit for them. They just never really got going. The fans tried, and like I said, it's my first time at Villa Park, and I've been wanting to go for a while because I like Aston Villa, I like their fans, I like Villa Park. It's a proper football stadium, but they just never really got going yesterday. So it was flat. And I think that maybe affected them a little bit. Obviously, there were moments in the game where they sort of really got behind them. And ironically, one of them, at one point where they were at their loudest was when John McGinn got sent off in that brief moment in between. And then literally the referee pulls a red card out and it's just like stunned silence. That was beautiful. But like you said, in the game, they had no momentum whatsoever. There was never... Tottenham had all of the control during the game for the most part of it.
Yeah.
For the first half especially, the first 10 minutes was all Tottenham, all over them, just sort of pulling them apart slowly but surely, but keeping possession, keeping patient. No real major threat, but Johnson a few times ran at Cash and they looked nervous.
Yeah.
There was no shots on goal or anything like that particularly. But in terms of the control, it was all us. And like you said, we never really allowed them that momentum. There was a brief period for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, actually at 2-0, where they had a few times where they were able to get down the right-hand side, but Romero and Dragusin would just sweep up every time, just crosses out. They had a few corners in quick succession, but again, nothing really came of it. I don't think they had a shot on target in the whole game, Villa. I might be wrong, but I don't remember Vicario making a save. I don't remember Vicario making a save. There was only one moment that Vicario looked a little bit awkward was where he got injured. He got that kick. Again, I've not seen it back, but he sort of got that kick in the head. Was it from Zaniolo?
Yeah.
That was the only time it looked a bit uncomfortable.
Zaniolo jumped over him and he's just caught him with the back of his studs, right on the top of the head, and he got Vaseline on the top of his head. But also that was good because it took the sting out of their sort of momentum.
100%, exactly.
And it was smart.
And that's credit to, I think, how well Tottenham managed the game as well. We said it on Friday, Spurs have to be that sort of little bit more nasty team. And the way that, obviously, we'll talk about John McGinn later on, but the way that, you don't like to see it, but the way that we surrounded the referee and all that kind of stuff. And just you need, in the big games like that, you need to do stuff like that. You need to sort of get yourself stuck in and amongst it and sort of not influence the decision, because I think the referee had made his mind up, but, create that sort of, make them feel uncomfortable in their own stadium. And that's exactly what we did. And we did that with the pressing for the second goal, Kulusevski winning that ball back. There was a period for 5 or 10 minutes after that first goal where they could not get out at all, Villa. And we'll come on to the second half, obviously, shortly, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But they were, they never had any real control in the game. It was all us, and it was just a pretty much perfect performance.
Yeah, all round from keeper to the attackers. It was 100%. Everyone was at the top of their game. I was going to ask though, because there's a stat that come out, and it says in the last 6 games, I think it was Sky Sports, in the last 6 games, Spurs have scored 2 goals in the first half, 13 in the second half. Why do you think there's such a gear change at half time? Because we seem quite reserved in the last few games in the first half. And then we come out just with a whole new intensity after a break. Why do you think that is? What do you think we're doing? Or do you think it's just team talk? What do you think?
I think a lot of it's game situation. You always want to play your perfect game. And I think the perfect game that Ange envisages is for Spurs to go 2 or 3-0 up in the first 60 minutes and then sort of try and save the legs. But it's been the other way around. And I actually think it's probably worked in our favour a little bit because I don't think we're one of the fittest teams in the Premier League. We've shown that we can score late goals, stay in it. The way we play, we're always going to give ourselves a chance, And I think, obviously, like you said, 13 of our last 15 goals have come in the second half. And that's because, as well, teams have sort of clocked onto the way we want to play, and they will set up with a low block to try and frustrate us. I think the last time we scored in the first half was against Manchester United. I might be wrong, but that's the last time I remember us scoring in the first half in a Premier League game. And obviously that came from a set piece. But United was so open in that game, and there was always going to be chances for Spurs. Whereas you think of the Brentford game, for example, not so much Brighton, because they really did come and play, and we had chances to go 1-0 up easily in that game, and we shouldn't have been behind at half time, even though we weren't necessarily at our best. But Brentford, obviously, one of the deepest blocks you'll ever see. Villa, obviously, yesterday as well. Crystal Palace, Wolves as well made it difficult for us. So teams are going to want to make it difficult. They're not going to want to let us play. So I think that's a part of it. You can't always kind of execute the game plan in the perfect way that you want to. And I think Spurs have been frustrated in that aspect. And it's games that are more open, that are suited to Spurs going 1-0 up. And obviously, like I said, Brighton should have been that. And United, we did get a goal in the first half. But yeah, I think also it's testament to the sort of character at the team that they've got this kind of never say die attitude. Like we obviously saw against Wolves that wasn't quite there, and it was a bit toothless all round. But Palace, we went 1-0 down, heads up, we keep going. Like we keep, there's been this bit of a gear change at Spurs that it kind of sparks us into life a little bit. And I think obviously in the past we've kind of been. I remember under Mourinho, like we couldn't stop scoring for fun in the first half of games, and then we would just sit back. And obviously, we wouldn't see that under Postecoglou now. He wouldn't allow it really for us to kind of like just sit back in your own penalty area and don't go forward, which is exactly what we did under Mourinho when we went 1 or 2 up. And obviously, you can question Ange's game management at times, but I think he sees it as the best way to win games is to go and kill them off. And in the past, we've sort of under Conte as well, like we'd go in the lead and then we'd just drop back and just invite that pressure. So I think it's just game state, and obviously we played a lot of teams as well recently that we've had a more fortunate run in the league, let's say over the last sort of 5 or 6 games, where we have played teams that have got stuff to play for but are going to want to make it difficult. We haven't played against the likes of Arsenal or City, and I think in that we've got a great record in the big games because they will let us play our football. And we are really ruthless and threatening. And obviously, we saw that yesterday. But for the first half, Villa completely changed their game plan because they know the threat that we possess.
Yeah,
and
exactly,
I think what went against them is, and I think what's gone against other teams as well, is that we've kind of got this multifaceted threat that people seem to forget about. Like we can be blistering on the attack, we can be this sort of counter-attacking direct team in transition, but we will pass you to death as well. There has been a sort of element of trying to score the perfect goal at times, and there was even moments in the second half where it was just like somebody shoot, like somebody, or just not playing the right pass, or maybe taking too long on it. So there's things to be refined there, but like I'm not sure it's a massive issue, because I think we've seen in the games that we can create these 10-15 minute spells where we win the game. Like a game is obviously won over the course of 90 minutes, but it's often won in these little pockets. And I think we saw that against Palace, we saw that against Brentford, and we saw it yesterday as well. We won that game between the 50th, 60th minute, where we scored those first 2 goals, got McGinn sent off, pressed and suffocated them. And I think that's what separates us from some of the other teams that are competing for Europe at the moment, is that we just have that ability to suffocate teams.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we frustrated them. Madison was saying after the game that the first half they were sort of just trying to tire Aston Villa, like just trying to wear them out. And we suffocated them with the press. We kept the ball. They were chasing the game a lot, and they were chasing us, trying to. And also they didn't even look fully committed in their press, because I feel like they were worried about us breaking through the lines, and they just did look like a broken team. As soon as that goal went in, because we capitalised on a bit of sloppiness, as soon as that goal went in, bang, second goal, they just looked like a broken team. Like you said, they were probably overstimulated, maybe biggest game of their history, and they were a broken team by the end of it. They lost their heads because we just frustrated the shit out of them. Like, it was such a good, mature performance. We knew that we'd have the edge because we've been in this situation before and they haven't. And you could see the occasion got too much for them, and we didn't need to rush into going too gung ho at the beginning of the game. We were just buying our time, wearing them out, and by the end of it worked. They were done by the end of it. I've got a question for you, mate. Why are Villa such unlikable, dirty pricks?
I don't know where it comes from. Like, obviously the whole Matty Cash stuff was just, it is what it is. And, he got what was coming to him yesterday. Not just in terms of Bentancur leaving one on him at the end, which I enjoyed, but also just getting the best way to show him that he's a little mug is by absolutely pulling their pants down. And that's what we did yesterday. Because we should have done that to them in the first game. Like, we should have. And like, like I said, it sort of comes back to the thing of the Villa fans thinking that they're so much better than Tottenham, and that, you know, they've been back in Europe for one season, and all of a sudden they've replaced us in the top six and all this bollocks. We're not going to go away. Like, as much as you want Spurs to go away, and this wider perception in the media that Spurs, we're almost like this little irritating thing that's like, oh yeah, they're still around. Like, we're a fucking good team. Like, and I think that, but Villa, like, I mean, let's talk about McGinn now. Like,
shithouse.
Fuck me. Like, I can't believe like the amount of people that I've seen that say that wasn't a red card.
Yeah.
Because the whole the sort of game's gone narrative around, oh, if we're giving that as a red. Come on, really? Like, it's not as if John McGinn could do exactly the same in terms of what he's trying to do. Stop the doggy in his flow, stop the counter-attack, take the yellow card, cynical foul. He could do that just by grabbing his shirt or pushing him over.
Yeah,
like, and
over the shit at him.
The outcome's the same in terms of, like, he gets the yellow and then they disrupt it and then whatever.
Yeah.
But he just kicks lumps out of him. Like, what are you doing? Like, that, it was a sign of, like, a sort of petulant, spoiled player who just doesn't like being beat in his own backyard. And I really like John McGinn as a player. I think he's incredibly underrated. And he's a sort of player that we've got it with Richie, and we had it with Dele Alli, where, like, if he's in your team, you fucking love him.
Yeah, cool.
Whereas like other fans will hate him, and I think they've sort of got that with McGinn. But I never really felt like that about him before. But you know, it was just petulant. Yeah. They knew the game was gone, even though it was only 2-0 with 60. He got sent off for 65th minute. It was bizarre because with Tottenham, you know the way we want to play. Like, we're always going to give teams a chance. Like, if they stayed in the game, there was always the chance that they could have 10 minutes towards the end where they're pumping balls in the box, making it difficult, and one goes in and it's a different game. But it was just bizarre. Like, I can't believe the amount of people that thought it wasn't a red. Like, I think by definition of what he did, that he's always given as a yellow, but it's just the excessive force and the fact that there's no intent to play the ball, and his intention is to hurt a doggy there. You don't do that if you're not trying to. He just kicked him, and obviously a doggy got up, was incredibly angry, but then sort of realised actually that hurt quite a bit.
Yeah.
But his teammates backed him up and sort of did the job for him. And I saw a Villa fan. It was like Dan Bardell, who's a Villa journalist, does a lot of stuff for Sky. Like, he's usually really good, but he tweeted something, obviously, sort of in the spiteful vitriol afterwards, saying like, "Oh, well done, James Maddison, for getting him sent off." Like, because Maddison went up to the referee. Come on, really? Like, stop deflecting the blame onto our players. Like, you've got a fucking midfielder. Just thought it'd be a good idea to kick the shit out of someone, and he got what he deserved.
Yeah. Did you get goosebumps when the players just like, we didn't lose our heads, but we just surrounded, like, we are like a family. We just surrounded McGinn. Ange Postecoglou was like, fuck, get back to you, like, get back out of my technical area to, like, Emery, and, like, it just, like, we were so, the cohesion so strong, like, we had a doggy's back, 100%. And then he got up to, like, have a go at McGinn, fell on the floor. I think he saw it as well. I think he saw the whole team running over.
Yeah, so I don't need to get involved.
Yeah, exactly. And then he, like, was on the floor, like, fuck, my leg.
Yeah.
And, like, so, like,
I love that Romero went after Longley. Did you see that? Longley was on the bench. He was sort of like, I loved that. Like, it was mad though, because we didn't, obviously, on them. I thought, by the way, before we carry on, the referee was shocking yesterday.
Yeah, he was.
Like, up until that, the amount of soft fouls that he bought from them.
Yeah.
Especially like where the away fans were. Like, there were so many times in the first half where Bailey would go up against a doggy and just like back in, like, make sure he's backing into him and just fall over.
Yeah, he was,
and the linesman's just looking right in front of it. And the linesman's not doing anything, and the referee's just giving a foul. Like, he's buying every single little soft thing. So I was amazed when he got the red card out. Also, none of us even saw it, like, because he almost, like, when you watch it back on TV, like, he gets the red card sort of almost from behind his back and shows it. Like, none of us saw it. We didn't realise. The only reason I noticed it had been sent off, and I was going to mate, he's off. Like, he sent him off, like, a red card, was because I saw him walking over to Martinez to give him the captain's armband. And then McGinn walked back over as if he was going to walk down a tunnel, and then hung around for like 2 minutes because he thought, "Oh, VAR will check this." And it was like the referee looked up at him and was like, "What are you doing? Like fuck off, mate."
Yeah.
It was brilliant. But like you said, it's a brotherhood at Spurs. They've all got each other's back. It feels reminiscent of the Poch sort of days, and that felt like a Poch. You don't want to give him all the credit, but like it felt like a Poch day win yesterday. It felt like those days again. Going away and just spanking a team. Like, the whole, like, I tweeted it out, like, did you, obviously you heard the fans at the end, like, with the whole nah, like,
so good,
your shit. Like, we haven't been able to do that to anyone in ages. And it felt like when we had Pochettino, we were going away and singing that to teams week in, week out, just pulling their pants down up and down the country. And it feels like we had that back yesterday. It felt like one of those days. But Ange, full credit to him for the way he managed the game, but full credit to him as well for like in terms of the wider context of what he's built at Tottenham for this young group of players. Like, and again, it's kind of comes back to the maturity that we talked about, that we showed yesterday. This is a young group of players, you know, like the more experience. Obviously, Sonny's the oldest player in the team, most experienced, but you know, then it goes down to like Romero, 25, Basuma, 26, 27, Maddison, 27. Like, you know, this isn't an old experienced bunch. They've all played a lot of Premier League minutes, but in terms of the leaders in the team, you know, they were all there yesterday. They all turned up.
Yeah, they did.
And yeah, like just fuck John McGinn, man. He's next. He's the next Matty Cash.
He's next on the hit list for like Romero and that.
That was for you, Matt Doherty, and that was for you, Rodrigo Bentancur.
But I mean, I think they did that. I think they were thinking this Spurs team, the way to beat them is to irritate and wind them up, kick lumps out of them, and they'll lose their head like we did against like Chelsea, etc.
Brentford as well, like with the whole Mopé thing.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
obviously that rattled Maddison a little bit, but like you said, I think there is this perception with Spurs that we've got this sort of soft underbelly, or that we're Spursy, or whatever the fuck that even means at this point. We, you know, they, like, you're completely right. I think that's how teams think they can rub us up the wrong way and sort of. But actually, I think where you've got these young players, I actually think it sort of ignites this fire inside the team. And we showed that maturity, and even like Ange yesterday, like Ange was the one that was sort of trying to like not break it up, but he was just like, "Oh, just go away." Like he wasn't massively getting involved, was he? No. He was just sort of like, just really like, you know, he was sort of just like dismissing it. But all the players stuck up for their boy, and I love Johnson as well. The way that Johnson just pushed him over, I was like, "Fuck off!"
Got right in his face. Yeah, it was so good.
Quality.
It's quality.
Love
but
him.
yeah, I think that, I mean, you saw it early on in the game. You saw Douglas Luiz like trying to get into Maddison's face. Maddison was just he weren't raising his hands. He weren't doing anything stupid. He was having a go at Luiz and then saying to the ref like, "Can you just sort it out? What's he doing?" Yeah, like,
I couldn't really see that. Was that when they sort of squared up to each other?
Yeah, because it was a throw-in and Luiz was just like shoving Maddison, and then the irony is it rubbed off on them in the end, because we didn't bite. We weren't biting, and then they were like they must have been like it looked like their only game plan, and then that weren't working, and in the end they lost their heads. They got a man sent off. Definitely was a red card, like you said.
100%.
And Longley. What was he doing piping up?
I know.
He was on the touchline. He was shushing
Romero's face.
Yeah, and then he was shushing him. I would have loved it if Romero was just like in Spanish, where however he spoke to Longley, communicated with him. I would have loved it if he was just like, "Fucking sit back down. You're so like you're shit.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
We didn't sign you for a reason, mate."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Longley's
pointing at Van der Ven and Dragusin, going, that could have been you, mate. That could have been you.
Yeah, these are actual defenders.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good. I was just so happy we didn't bite and didn't fall for them just being horrible bastards.
I think that was just the most like that whole moment with McGinn just encapsulated how satisfying yesterday was, because they just couldn't take being played off the park. No. And you know, obviously, Villa are our sort of main rival for top four. Man United keep getting brought into the discussion, but this might come back to bite me. Man United might go on a silly run, but I can't see that. But it's like, I saw the Fighting Cock tweeted out yesterday, and I remember Flav saying a while ago on one of the pods about, they had a Celtic fan on, or spoke to a Celtic fan, I think. He's got a close mate who's a Celtic fan. And he said that, and this sort of comes back to this whole wider thing with Postecoglou, that we've had these bumps in the road at points. And it's not the pattern of what we were told was going to happen under Postecoglou hasn't quite materialised that way, in the sense that you struggle at the start and then you'll sort of it will progress. But I remember one thing, and they tweeted it yesterday, and it was like, this Celtic fan said to him, it was like, you'll be impressed of what you see, and then you'll do it against a good team, and then you'll think, fuck, like we are proper, like, and that's what it was yesterday. Like, they didn't like it, Villa, and like I said, they think they've got a bit above their station, and they needed bringing down a peg or two, and that's exactly what we did yesterday.
Yeah, and it was an all round great performance. Every single player could argue to get man of the match. Who do you think was our best player in this game?
Oh, I mean, you're spoilt for choice, aren't you? Really?
Yeah.
I think for me, there's probably two main candidates, but I wouldn't be mad if you gave it to anyone, to be honest. Maybe other than Vicario, just because he didn't really have anything to do, just by the nature of it. But I think the two main standouts were Destiny Udogie, just the way he wasn't, maybe a little bit more in the second half, but he wasn't being afforded quite the same space to pick up those sort of more attacking roles that we've seen, sort of in the final third, like Porro was. He was more played a bit like a traditional left back yesterday. And the best thing that he saw, his best asset was his drive. Like there was a moment, it felt like a 10-minute period in the second half, like around McGinn getting sent off, where he would pick the ball up from the left back position and just drive, beat two or three players, and they just couldn't keep up with him.
Yeah.
They could not. He's so strong, and he was just amazing in terms of getting us out of not difficult situations, but just helping us on the transition, getting from defence to attack, driving us up the pitch. His technical quality on the ball is superb. Defensively, locked up Leon Bailey. You got no change out of him whatsoever. Such a technically secure player, man. He's just unbelievable. So I would say Udogie is one of the main two candidates, but I think it's got to be. And although it's mental to think that he only was on the pitch for 70 minutes, but Pat Sarr.
Yeah,
I would just want to I said about it earlier, but the amount of Villa fans that gave me stick for putting him in a combined 11 over John McGinn. You could not write it. You could not write yesterday better. He was he was unbelievable, mate. Like all season, from the first moment we saw him last year against AC Milan in the San Siro, the composure that he showed as a 20-year-old at that point, alongside Skippy in midfield, was just ridiculous. And the technical ability, we talked about it on Friday, the fact that he had to start. Like we love Bentancur, but Sarr had to start. And I think all of the things that we said on Friday came true in Sarr's performance. That defensive awareness, that ability, that engine to get us up the pitch, and that quality in the final third as well. That cross for Maddison.
Yeah,
bear in mind, he was off balance as well at a point to compose himself and whip that ball across the face of the goal was just a joke. But they couldn't get near him. He is just a brilliant midfielder, and he will go on to be an £100 million world-class talent.
Absolutely.
Like, scary, the composure that he's shown as a 21-year-old. So the key cog in that sort of midfield machine. He's fantastic. He ran that game yesterday with the help of Basuma as well. I thought Basuma was great. Like again, I think building on the Palace game, but I think just for his impact on the game, Sarr, with that cross, the way he and we talked about it, that whole right hand side really. I think Kulusevski's performance divided a bit of an opinion really, but I think with Porro, Sarr, and Kulusevski in that sort of triangle down that right hand side, that is so key to the way Tottenham build up. They couldn't pick up Porro, they couldn't pick up Sarr because of the movement of all three of them interchanging, and we saw that for the goal. The perfect encapsulation of that was for the first goal. Porro into Kulusevski through to Sarr across to Maddison. They just couldn't pick up, they couldn't cope with that sort of right hand side of our midfield. I'm including Porro in that as well, because let's face it, he's not really a right back in this system, especially going forward in the build up. But Pat Sarr, I think, showed everybody yesterday the potential that he's got, but the level that he is at now. We said it on Friday. He's one of those players where he doesn't get the praise or the spotlight that he deserves really from rival fans or pundits, just the neutral kind of media. But when you play against him, you remember him. Yeah. Fans will come away and thinking, who's this kid? But actually, he's been a key part of our team all year, and without him, we don't really look the same. I'd give. There was a lot of candidates. You chuck Van der Ven in there as well, because first half he was so key. Obviously, he went off on 48 minutes, 50 minutes, whatever, just close to start the second half. So you probably can't give it to Van der Ven. But I just think Sarr, for the impact that he had on the game and his quality, his desire, his drive, his defensive awareness, everything, just 10 out of 10, man. He was just unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a manager's dream, because obviously you think about his impact in the dressing room. Such a nice, happy, the guy, everyone seems to love him. He's like everyone's little brother. And then when you see him on the pitch, just absolutely dominates midfields. Brilliant midfields as well. Animal. He is. And yesterday just showed how integral he is to the way we play, because obviously we're going to get caught on transitions. There's going to be loose balls in midfield, but he just latched on to every single loose ball. He'd come from nowhere. He covered so much ground. He was constantly making decoy runs. He was breaking the lines of the defence, constantly making darting runs in behind Villa's back line, and just causing. He was just making it awkward for Villa's midfield and defence. They couldn't settle, and he was he kept on running. He kept on covering the ground. He was doing the dirty work. He got unlucky with the yellow card because he slipped, and I lost my shit at that, because I was thinking that could have affected him for the rest of the game and could have been in his head, but it didn't. He just cracked on with it, and like that. I think that's a testament to his character, because he just got his head down, carried on doing what he did, and then and the assist was so good. And I think the technical quality it goes under the radar for him, because obviously he's you think he's in there to do what I've just said, like cover the ground, snuff out attacks before they happen, and drive up the pitch, because he's good at his progressive carries as well.
Yeah.
But it's his technical quality. It's improving game by game, and you're seeing the potential he has. He's 21 years old. What's he going to be like when he's in his prime at 28? Like his technical quality is getting better and better game by game, and when he's that complete midfielder, it's going to be so scary. And like, not for us, because he is a player you do not want to come up against, because he'll have everything in his locker, and he will be, like you say, a 100 mil player. He'll be incredible.
He's like you said, he's a manager's dream, and he must be a midfield partner's dream as well. Basuma must love playing with him, because he covers so much ground, allows Basuma to focus on his strongest parts of the game, and obviously how the net benefit of that for Spurs is insane, because you're allowing Basuma to just focus on breaking up the play, being press resistant, being able to progress the ball out from the back, and then Sarr will do that sort of the dirty work. But like you said, it's not just about that for him. It's not just about the progressive carries. It's not just about the ground he covers on and off the ball. It's that technical quality as well. You think of the 3 goals that he scored this season. The Bournemouth goal on New Year's Eve, to that low shot hard across the goalkeeper. The Man United goal on the half volley, really difficult finish to keep that down in the roof of the net. The Brighton goal, the endeavour that he showed, and to finish from that tight angle as well. And again, that was just all of that. Brighton goal summed up exactly what he's so good at for me. It just his endeavour, his drive to be in that position, that confidence, that hunger, and that technical quality. He's just got it all. There's not many midfield players in the Premier League like him. We're seeing someone who could be and this is a long shot, but we're seeing someone here who's got the foundations to go on and be that Patrick Vieira, that Yaya Toure. And if other fans don't see it from other clubs, that's fine, because we certainly will. And we'll have him for the next 6 years. He signed a new contract. He's ours. He's staying, and he's just going to get better and better year in, year out. He's just a fantastic footballer.
Yeah. And I think he was our best player, but he wasn't the only one. Obviously, you touched on Mickey van der Ven. But before I get on to obviously Dragusin, who come on for Mickey van der Ven, I want to touch on Romero, because he kept his head in a game that was hostile, in a game where you expect him to lose his head. He did leave there with something. He took out Zaniolo and got the ball, but made sure he went through the back of it. That was amazing. Zaniolo was like lying on the floor looking for a foul, but he got the ball. That really, really showed Romero's maturity. I still think at some point he will lose his head in the future, but he really showed how he's improved in that element. He's obviously talked about it before. He's talked about it on it, saying how he hasn't got booked in 2024, it was a leader's performance from him. He was superb. He didn't give Watkins the time of day to sort of do what Watkins is so good at, and linking up and getting other players from in the game, other Aston Villa players in the game. He was so good. I thought Johnson on the left. Obviously, I still think he's probably better off on the right, but you saw from Johnson what we've always wanted to see from him. He's obviously relishing. He's like from the last game. He's obviously filled with confidence, because he's running at the defence now. He's getting the ball. He's not turning his back and passing it. He's improved in that, getting the ball, driving, trying to beat the man. He beat Matty Cash. He sat Matty Cash down a couple of times early on. It was his final end product that let him down a little bit, but it didn't matter. He got his goal, and he was superb. And his work rate was superb as well, like blocking crosses. There was a moment where it looked like Villa were getting players in a box, and they crossed it from deep, and he just he slide tackled. He anticipated that cross and got there and prevented that a chance for Villa. So I think Johnson was superb. I mean, I don't think anyone had a bad game, by the way. But yeah, let's talk about Dragusin then, because Van der Ven, he was having such a good game. I really hope he's not out for a long time, but Dragusin, come on. How comfortable were you feeling when he came on? Because obviously he's hardly played. He's played like 8 minutes of Premier League football, and it was a massive game to come on. It was still 0-0 when he come on. Yeah. Obviously, we scored straight away after he came on. But how impressed were you with his performance, and how comfortable were you when you saw him come on?
I was massively impressed, but I was naturally a little bit nervous because of the game state as well. It was 0-0. Yeah. We hadn't quite got going in the second half yet. We hadn't started to suffocate Villa and got in front. And it was obviously a big game coming in for him. Like you said, he's had limited minutes so far, and there's been fans that have been frustrated at that. But like we've said, you can't break up Romero and Van der Ven. But we also did infer, like on Friday, I think on one of the other pods, that Dragusin will get a chance because someone will get injured or someone will get suspended. Like he will have to play a good amount of football between now and the end of the season. And I think he probably will get that chance now. Obviously, Postecoglou's come out and said that they don't think the Van de Ven injury is too serious, which is a massive relief.
Yeah.
That said, I probably don't think he's going to be back for Saturday. And obviously, we've got the international break after that. So that's 2 weeks that he can hopefully recover.
That's true.
But I was massively impressed with Dragusin. Naturally, he doesn't quite give you that same composure as Van de Ven on the ball. But again, first significant Premier League minutes coming on for him. He doesn't quite have the same pace as Van de Ven, but, that's fine. Van de Ven is he's an anomaly. He's a freak. We're so lucky to have him. But he did amazingly well yesterday. Really assuring on the ball. He's just a classic. It was just a really no-nonsense defensive performance when he came on. Blocked basically every cross, cleared every cross, got himself stuck in. He was great. Like, it was more everything you could ask for from him and more. And I think naturally we're nervous because we know how important Van de Ven has been to us this season. And like when we saw him go down against Palace last week, you're just thinking, oh, for fuck's sake.
PTSD.
Like, literally, like every time he goes down, and like it was obviously this week we knew it was a hammy because he was sort of you could just tell from the pictures, but the way he was holding it and whatever, and they took no risk with him. Obviously, I was at the game. Like, I got back and I spoke to my stepdad this morning. He said that there was at half time they were saying that it looked like Dragusin was getting ready to come on or something.
Really?
Is that right?
I didn't notice that, to be honest.
I didn't see anyone else.
Time, to be honest.
Oh, right. I was going to say I didn't see anyone tweeting about it, but then maybe Van de Ven maybe at half time felt a little bit of tightness and was like, "Oh, let's see how you go." And then I think he went down, and at the first opportunity, they were gonna bring him off. And you can't take any chances with a play like that. You got to wrap him up in cotton wool. It's so important to us. Yeah. And the way we play. But I was massively impressed with him. And I think touching on Romero, he's got the perfect centre-back partner to come alongside and play with, because Romero is that aggressor. He will do that job. He will be the leader in that back four. He's very easy to come and slot and play alongside. Van de Ven's seen that, a young player adapting to the Premier League. Dragusin is exactly the same, similar age to Van de Ven, coming from a new league, we didn't really know what to expect from Van de Ven, and the same with Dragusin as well. Well, we knew what to expect, but we didn't know how well they'd adapt to the league. And I think having Romero alongside him, he deserves so much praise. And Romero was just superb yesterday. Like, we've been banging this drum for a long, long time, Spurs fans. And I get that there's a percentage of the Spurs fan base that still think he's reckless, still think he's rash. But I just think that's your agenda and that's your bias getting the better of you there from what you've seen before. You're not watching what he's doing, because second half, especially first half, there was a couple of sloppy touches, couple of sloppy passes, but I actually think it was more about the passes that he was receiving into him and the areas that he was having to deal with it. There was a couple of hospital passes from Basuma that Romero sort of had to then adjust to, and then it got us into trouble. But like you said, you touched on it earlier, and it's something I've been banging on about for weeks in terms of how it affects our build-up play. Romero's aggressiveness and that controlled aggression, every time ball comes up to the halfway line, from Villa's back four or whoever we're playing against into the feet of the striker, Romero is there on his back straight away. And everybody knows the classic thing of, like, if you go through the back of a player, 9 times out of 10, even if you get the ball, they usually give a free kick. But Romero is able to do that without even looking like giving a foul away. He always pinches the ball just on the player's foot. And then their midfield's exposed. You've got the ball on a turnover, and then you're 4 against 3 or 3 against 2. He's so good at that. So important. There was so many times yesterday when Villa broke in the second half. He just steps up at the right time, intercepts the ball, aggressive. He reads the game so well, Romero. And again, he's another one of those players, a bit like Pat Matasar, from rival fans. If you don't want to rate him, that's fine. That's fine, because we will sit here and bang the drum for him, and you will see it when he plays against you, and you have to wake up to how good he is. He has been absolutely superb this season, Romero. And for Dragusin to come in, I think it's going to be good for him playing against Fulham. Like, in a funny way, obviously I want Van de Ven to come back as soon as possible, but there's been a lot of fans that have been clamouring to see Dragusin play, and he's got his chance, 45 minutes, or at least 45 minutes with the added time and stuff on Sunday. Play him against Fulham. See how you go. 90 minutes with Romero against a tricky striker and someone like Muniz. Obviously, we'll do the preview pod on Friday talking about that. But, it's going to be an opportunity for him to show how good he is. But he's got the perfect partner alongside him in Christian Romero. He's just fantastic. A leader, a captain without the armband. I'm in love with the bloke. Yeah,
and the way we play as well, the composure he has when he's on the ball and the calmness. He doesn't slow the game down. He invites the pressure by putting his foot on the ball, but you don't. He's not that like erratic centre back with the ball. Like imagine if it was Davinson Sanchez, like he was trying to come in and play alongside. Like it just put you under pressure straight away. With Dragusin, I was a little bit nervous because I was thinking he's got 8 minutes like under his belt, 8 minutes in the Premier League. He's 22 years old, and what we've heard of him, I mean, and what we've seen, because Genoa didn't play possession-based football. So a lot of the time he was hitting the ball long, and that's all we've really seen of him. And obviously coming into a Ange Postecoglou Tottenham side who play low, hard passes along the floor around the back, trying to draw pressure on. And I was nervous because I thought that the perception of him coming in from people that have seen him is that he's not that good at passing. That's his weak point. But it didn't look like that. He was really, really composed on the ball, and he looked competent with the ball at his feet. He looked like he wanted the ball at his feet, which is a really good sign of his mentality to come in straight away in this massive game where he's not expected to play and just to crack on like he's been playing in the Prem for ages. And to do that at 22 years old is a really, really positive sign. He just looks like a beast. He was unlucky to get the yellow card. I mean, he kind of had to do it because it was an impulsive decision to jump in front.
Yeah.
He got the yellow card. That's okay, but he still kept his head. There was a moment where Vicario like absolutely pinged the ball at him at his feet.
Yeah.
Like it was a hospital pass, and he tried to. He didn't control it very well, but obviously you're not really expecting him to control it very well. And I think they had a half chance from that, Villa, But apart from that, he was just so good. He didn't look out of place. And like you're saying, the run of games coming up, if Van de Ven is out for a few weeks, it's perfect for him because they're not I mean, they're big games. We have to win them, obviously. But they're not games where he's going to be really thrown under pressure, I don't think.
Yeah.
And so he can embed a bit easier and get used to that. Adaptability is the adapting process. It will just be a lot more easy for him. And it's so good having a competent defender by the looks of things coming on when Van de Ven goes down, because we know with the way we play, with them sprinting to recover the ball, Romero and Van de Ven are probably going to be injured for periods of the season, especially with Europe next year. So to have players like Dragusin to come on, because we were all having PTSD from when Van de Ven got injured. We were thinking, who's going to come on? Davis Emerson? And then Dragusin comes on and he does so well. So really, really good sign. How significant do you think this performance is going forward under Ange? Obviously, you touched on it. You talked about how the Celtic fans said, and Celtic fans were saying, it would be really promising early on. You'll lose a few games, and then there'll be that one game, that catalyst game, that you absolutely steamroll a good team, and then it clicks. And how important do you think this is in this Ange process, new chapter?
I think it's massive. I think it's a real marker. I think it's a real flag in the sand to say we're not going away. We are here. We are a proper team. And like I said, our record against the big teams has actually been pretty good this season. You know, City, Arsenal, Liverpool haven't taken 3 points against us. You know, we've gone to these teams as well and done that. Obviously, we've got big games coming up with Newcastle away as well, despite the fact that they're not in great form. That's going to be a huge game for us to go away and try and have another one of these performances where we say we're not going away. You know, we are here. This top four is going to be ours. You know, this is ours to lose now. We're gonna hold on to it for as long as possible because we know that Villa have got a tough run as well.
Yeah.
And I thought back to, not that I like to think back to the Antonio Conte times too much, but I just thought back to 2022 when he came in the year before, and we went on that run from March to the end of the season. We created that real momentum, and that got us top four with difficult games to play as well. North London derby at home against Arsenal, who we were going up for the Champions League. There's no reason why Tottenham now, with a favourable run coming up with Fulham away, not underestimating these teams, of course, Fulham away, Luton at home, West Ham away, Forest at home to come as well, and then it's into the big ones, that we can't put that same run of momentum together as well. This is a real catalyst moment, I think, like you said. And, you know, it's a massive confidence boost to these players. You know, they've gone and swept away your main top four rival like that, you know, with the ruthlessness that we showed in front of goal. You know, the way that we suffocated them at points in that game, we just looked like a much, much better team than them yesterday. And I think now it's massive. I think you can't underestimate that yesterday. And if it turns out at the end of the season that we don't get into the Champions League, off of the back of this, then so be it. But we can still look back at games like that and think, when you're looking ahead to next year, when you're going to want to be in these battles again for years to come, you've got the confidence that you've been there and done it. You can look back at those games and think, well, we came here last year and put in this performance. Those things start to build. And especially as well, we haven't had a good record against Villa. They've had an upper hand against us over the last 3 games, won them all. And like I said, the game at White Hart Lane, they should never have won. And I think we put that right first and foremost, but also really laid a marker down in terms of our strength in this Premier League season. Like, people will want to laugh at Tottenham and say, yeah, we were top of the league. You guys were all expecting to win the league. None of us really thought that. None of us thought that. We just wanted to see a team that we can get behind. That's what fans want to see in football. As long as you feel like you're going in the right direction, that's what we've had. And we've had bumps along the road. And we were told by Celtic fans that we were going to have a tricky start and it would grow and build gradually. But, we've done it against a proper team in their own backyard. And that always feels better as well. Like, beating teams at home this and dismissing them is one thing, but going to their place with the magnitude of that game as well, effectively potentially a shootout for top 4. Whoever gets it, if it's by 2 or 3 points, you're going to refer back to that game if it's Tottenham and say that's where we won it, at Villa Park, beating our main rivals for top 4, going and smashing them like that. So I think mentally for this young squad as well to have that confidence, you can see how together they are. It was just the perfect day, really. And I think, like you said, I think it's a massive moment for this team to really kick on now from that.
Yeah, it's a massive psychological boost, and obviously it's for that. It was a winner's mentality. The way we rocked up, did our thing. We didn't even look like we were that excited. Well, we were happy with the win, but we kept our heads on our shoulders.
Professional,
we didn't over celebrate.
We've done our job.
We did the job. Let's go home because we've got 11 games to go, and it really seemed like that. It was that psychological boost of Villa were absolutely defeated by the end of the game. They'd lost their captain for 3 games now. They've got injuries. They're in Europe. They look defeated. We've absolutely spanked them in a game of that magnitude, a 6-pointer, and we've gone home with that psychological boost of they're worried now. If they won, they would have been how many points above? Was it 8 points above us?
8 points, yeah.
It was a massive game for in a psychological a point. So every team in that process has that catalyst game where there's a switch, and I actually think this is it. It was just perfect. The winner's mentality we showed, just to turn up, do our thing, and we absolutely steamrolled them. And Bentancur left one in on Matty Cash. That means more than the 3 points, because the way the fans celebrated when he did it, it was like we just scored the 5th goal. Yeah, it was so good to see. Like, exactly, he left there with something. It was amazing, mate. It was so good, and it really is such a positive sign going forward. That we're going in the right direction, and that we're learning from our past mistakes. We're keeping our heads, and we're not getting overstimulated in these big games, because it was a hostile environment to come into. Massive game, and we did the job, and we went home and looking like winners and looking like we have that psychological edge over Villa. Yeah.
It was serious. It was a serious statement. And like you said, I think as well, the players at the end of the game, they came over to the fans. They thanked the support, but it wasn't like we were celebrating it as if we'd won the league or whatever. Obviously, Tottenham, as much as many teams have been accused of over celebrating or whatever that even means, at points in the season. But they knew that they'd come here to do a job, and they've done it. And like, I think Postecoglou's mentality in this whole kind of context of the top 4 race has been just superb throughout, in the sense that that's not our aim. That's not what we're aiming for. Yes, it'd be a success, but we're aiming for higher than that. And if we get 4th, then great, so be it. But we're aiming for much bigger things, and it doesn't feel like the ceiling anymore, top 4 under this manager. It just feels like a real gear change, a real mentality shift from Conte, who compared Tottenham finishing 4th to winning the Premier League, and then massively pivoted on that when he was throwing the toys out the pram and got himself sacked. There's this consistent message with Postecoglou, and with young players in the squad as well, and to the fan base, it's almost like he's saying the same things, and that's what's really refreshing. This transparency through the whole club, from the top in Postecoglou down to the players. They're so lovable. It's such a likable group. Such a group that you want to get behind. Like, I don't want to keep comparing it to Poch, but it's got that feel about it, and those were special times, even if we didn't win anything. But it's about the connection that you have with that team, and and those players. And I think that's what we're getting again, and that's what I think we've had it from the start of the season, to be fair. But like games like this are what's going to emphasise that even more. And it just felt like a special day, like a really, really good day. And I think I'm just excited to see Fulham away Saturday night. Fulham in good form. You know, it's going to be another big one for Spurs. Like it's not, we can't take this lightly. But you go there with that confidence, and we're free scoring, and we're this and we're that, and we're solid at the back, and we're playing great football, and we've got a team that, you know, that away end at Craven Cottage on Saturday will be right behind that team, buzzing for Saturday. I'm gutted I can't go, but yeah, massively, you know, just looking forward to watching us. That's the biggest thing now.
Yeah. Good stuff. Should we do some questions that we've been given on social media? Thank you so much for everyone that got involved with the questions. Young Street Soldier on TikTok says, why do people have this irrational hate for Tottenham, specifically Londoners that aren't Arsenal fans? Why do we rattle every single fan base? Why are we the most hated team in the league? Because I feel like we are.
Yeah, we are. Well, certainly from like the other, like you know, when Arsenal play Chelsea, all they do is hold hands and sing about Tottenham. You know, that's what it is. Whereas like they all seem to, like, and that's why it's hard for us as well, because like a lot of teams look at us as their biggest game of the season. Like Arsenal, Chelsea, West Ham, they all hate us. And it's like, what have we done? And like it's kids as well. Like from the outside perspective, like I don't even think it's that we're hated by like other fans, because I speak to like a lot of fans of teams up and down the country, sort of outside of London, and I don't think they necessarily hate us, but I think there's an element at points where it's almost like you see fans that like from rival teams that want someone different to win it, and because we've been in like title races before, you know, we had a lot of neutrals getting behind us when we were in that title race with Chelsea, even with Leicester. Like obviously people were glad to see Leicester, but it was good to see two teams going up against each other that were different, and sort of like we've always been attractive, always played good football. I think on the surface, like we were a likable team, but I quite like the fact that everybody seems to hate us. But I think it's because I think it comes down to it sometimes is that people don't take us seriously. But under Postecoglou, I think they fucking will at one point. Mate.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we're really getting there.
Yeah, I think it's because we're always there. And it's annoying because...
It's annoying. It's what I was saying earlier. Like, we're just this irritants to, like, it's almost like people like Sky and, you know, they build it up as the big six and all that. They want to get rid of us. They want to replace us with Newcastle. Yeah. Like, all these other... Newcastle finished above us one season and they've replaced us in the top six. All that kind of stuff. They don't like that we're still hanging around. They don't like it. You know, we finished in the top six. I mean, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but... You know, from my first season at Spurs was 2004, 2005 going, and we finished like mid-table that year. But from when Yol came in 05, 06, other than a couple of years, we've been top 6, top 7 basically every single year. But we're not a big club. Like we're not a big club. Like what about Everton? You know, Everton have been in there and about and fallen away massively. That could be us, but we're not. We're sticking around. Like you know, I don't get it. But long may it continue. If it's going to rattle people that much and they don't like the sight of us there, then. Long may it continue, because we ain't going away, mate. With the financial situation that other clubs find themselves in, with the financial situation that we find ourselves in, with the manager that we've got and the young group of players that we've got, teams should be scared of us. They should be scared of us. And if they're not, then let them underestimate us, because that's fucking what Villa did yesterday, and we absolutely bent them over.
Yeah. Spot on, mate. I don't even think there's anything I can add to
that. Yesterday, me and my mate were on the train back, right? I mean, we went to Brighton away on whenever it was in December, and we got beat. That train journey back into Brighton was hell. You know, Brighton fans, the whole thing was Tottenham get battered everywhere they go, all this kind of stuff, like we're bigger than Tottenham, blah 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 blah. We get it from everyone. If you can't fucking go big and enjoy it and give it back to some of the fans that like give it to Tottenham all the time, then what can you do? Because we're here and we're not fucking going away.
Exactly.
Mate. If we rattle you that much, then you must like us deep down. You know, you must like us deep down if you want to hate us.
Yeah. I think people also I think there's a bit of jealousy, especially teams. Well, I think the teams that have got a better recent history than us are annoyed that we're compared to them. But also, I think the teams that are always looking to get into the top six that can't because we're always fucking there. Are so jealous of us because we look like a team on the up as well. Like the stadium. I know people take the piss out of it, but the stadium, the revenue, the finances. We are becoming a giant. And I think teams just fucking hate to see it.
Yeah.
And long may it continue. I don't mind being a team that everyone hates, because you can just see we get under people's skin so easily. People are always trying to have a rivalry. Even Villa now trying to force this rivalry on us. We just sat them back down over the weekend and just been like
back in your box.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So long may it continue. Owen on TikTok says, hang on, this is interesting, this one. Is there still a slight chance Tottenham are still in a title race? Probably a ridiculous question, but you never know. Is it a ridiculous question?
Could we? Could we?
Could we?
What's it? 11 points behind Arsenal. Game in hand. Got to play them. Got to play the other teams as well. Arsenal got to play City. It's not out of the question. It's not out of the question. Well, we definitely won't. We're not gonna. No. We're not gonna finish top of the league.
We'll probably fucking lose against Fulham.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll all come back down to earth. But could we? Could they? Could we?
I mean technically,
we're not out of it.
No.
We ain't out of it. We're not going away. Like I said, we've got these teams to play. Who says, right, that we can't go and beat? Oh, this is going to look so bad in a few months' time. We can't go and beat Arsenal, City, and Liverpool. We can. We might not, but we can.
We definitely can. Yeah.
Things look very different because people are writing us off in those games. I made a TikTok saying about we're going to have a massive influence in the title race, and we definitely are. And people are like, "Oh yeah, how can you have an influence when you're going to get beat by all three of these teams?" It's like, we'll come back to that in May, mate.
Yeah,
back to that.
Well, that's the thing. Like, we may not be. I mean, we're still in and around it. Like, we've had a couple of really negative performances. But now we look at us. We look at it in sort of like hindsight and think, you know what, we're still there or thereabouts, like just hanging on by a thread. But we're not going to win the league, but we do have a massive. Well, but we do have a massive say in this title race. Like we could have a shock win against Liverpool or a shock win against Arsenal, City. We have this massive say, and I guarantee Arsenal, Liverpool, City are looking at us thinking, oh, for fuck's sake! This running, the last few games we got to play.
They'll be writing us off.
We've got to play Spurs.
Yeah, they'll be. To be fair, I think it's mostly Arsenal fans that sort of look because you know what Arsenal fans are like, the fucking gooners, so cocky. Like they're looking at that game thinking we're going to win that. I don't think City and Liverpool fans are looking at it the same way. Like they'll be looking at it like, oh shit, we've got to play Tottenham. Like deep down they'll think they should win that.
Yeah.
But City's record here, should have got something against Liverpool last season. Took points off Liverpool towards the end of the season under Conte when that basically stopped them from winning the league. We can go and put performances in against these top teams in crunch moments. Like we did it against Arsenal. With their arses fell out the last time they came to White Hart Lane when it really mattered. So there's no guarantee that it ain't going to happen again. So don't rule us out just yet. But it comes back to that thing of just like we know that we ain't going to win it, but the thought of just like Anne just said, that to finish it, he's had this perfect attitude throughout the whole thing of when he gets asked about it in press conferences, saying, his fourth game for top four now. It's like, so because he got asked about the Opta percentage thing, and he was like, Tottenham was 1%. He was like, so you're telling me there's a chance? It was like, fucking come on, that's what you want, because it's that it's not delusional. It's just that thing of well, why are you discounting us? We're not going away, and things could look very different in a few months' time. That's all I'm going to say. But let's see how we go. And I think it's more just about that attitude of punching as high as you can and then seeing what happens at the end of it. And if it's fourth, if it's third, if it's fucking first, then we'll be having a party all the same. Well, not all the same, because if we win the league, I probably won't ever do this podcast ever again.
Oh, I would turn to Class A drugs.
Yeah. I'll go on the Skywalk and just jump off. It don't even get better than that.
Life's peaked.
If Tottenham beat Arsenal to the Premier League, or that even better, well, not even better, but even as a compromise, we have a hand in Arsenal not winning it. Great.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's all I want.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, though. We don't have that defeated attitude anymore, that defeatist mindset. We don't have it with Postecoglou. Postecoglou is a winner, and we're at the beginning of a journey. Why limit ourselves? Why? Because then, and he's also said, if we do get top four, if we do win the league, you don't want that being the ultimate goal.
Yeah,
you just want to keep doing your thing, keep playing your football, and seeing what you can do in a whole process, not just a couple of seasons. In 5 years' time, let's see our successes from those 5 years, because we're on a great trajectory.
Yeah, we've got a greater winning mentality under a manager that was laughed at by being appointed at Spurs than we have had under two win now managers in Conte and Mourinho. That's what it's all about. We've got this attitude, and again, I've talked about Poch a lot, but Poch was kind of the same. I think these managers have this attitude of just you're basically just not acting like you're doing the club a favour. That's what Conte and Mourinho felt like at times. And like I said, I think Postecoglou embodies a far stronger winning mentality than any win now manager that we've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
Just love him.
Absolutely. Yeah. bare minimum on Twitter. I want to quickly touch on this because it's just end on another positive. But bare minimum on Twitter said, "What do you think of the links on Eze?" So obviously we spoke about Eze on another podcast, saying that he seems like he was born to play for Spurs. Did you see that? Is it Tom? Oh no, I can't remember. The journalist, but he was saying that when Palace come to Spurs, Eze and his family and his agents had a whole box to themselves, which is very that's not a normal thing. And he's obviously
very interesting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, he's obviously part of the CEA base agency that's in bed with Tottenham.
Basically, what you're trying to tell me is that he signed the contract on that day after banging in a free kick.
Already has. Yeah, you saw it. I don't need to know anything else other than I saw the way he hugged Son.
Yeah,
and you can't tell me that he's not gonna be in Lily White hugging Son like that next year. Like
banging in them free kicks. Did you see the goal he nearly scored on Saturday? By the way.
Oh my God, we hit it on halfway line.
Oh my word.
Fucking hell. Yeah.
That and obviously how is it that he did it and then Tony fucking nearly done it over Ramsdale as well? It was it was mad. But Eze, mate, Eze feels like he was born to play for Tottenham. He's just got that smile. He's got that swagger. He's got that quality. Like, who knows where we're going to play him, but we'll make it work. Like, we'll make it work. Like, he just like vibes FC, baby. Like, he's perfect for. Like, I just love him. Bring him to Spurs. But like you said, he's already signed the contract anyway. So
sign the contract, big boy.
Literally, sign the team, please.
I feel like I think it's done. Tier 1 journalist, in my opinion.
Yeah, source.
Yeah.
Oh,
quality, mate. We'll end it there. Such an amazing result. Big things are happening at Spurs. And I'm so excited to see where we can go with this project. And this was such a catalyst game in this process. So positives all round, and we can all enjoy our weeks.
Yeah. We can dine out on this result for a long time.
Yeah,
until
exactly.
Fulham on Saturday. But no, mate, it was fucking quality, and we are seriously going somewhere under Postecoglou. I've never been more positive or had more belief in a Spurs team, I think, than this, and we showed that yesterday. And mate, we're going somewhere. Who knows where that is, but we're fucking going somewhere.
It's positive. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Before we go, do you want to shout out the socials and your socials, obviously?
Yeah, go and follow Daring Doing Pod on Twitter, Daring and Doing Pod on TikTok, all those Instagram,
we're on Apple
wherever
now.
else as well. Apple Podcasts as well. Apple. For all the people asking on Apple Podcasts, we are there. We're there. Go and listen to us on that. Go and follow the podcast on Spotify. Give us a like rating. Subscribe on YouTube as well. And fucking,
I think that's
Viva Daring and Doing.
Yeah, mate, I think you covered it,
mate. We're gonna, fucking coming Spurs.
Yeah, up the Spurs, and we'll see you soon for the Fulham preview.
See you soon, boys and girls.